Now's not the time for negativity. It's the second week of August. Now's the time for possibility. What's the best case scenario for the 2026 Auburn football team? We discuss next on Scarbo Knows. Ever since Indiana did the impossible and won the national championship in college football, a question popped up. Who will be this year's Indiana? As if that kind of magic could happen in back-to-back seasons, but it's really the wrong question. The poster child for expecting the unexpected in college football is Auburn. So the real question should be, who could be this year's Auburn? What if it's Auburn? Why not Auburn? That's what we want to discuss today. Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Skarbinski, a.k.a. Scarbo. Appreciate you watching Scarbo Knows here on YouTube. When you get a minute, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Don't cost nothing, but it does help us, and we do appreciate it. And make sure you check out our sponsor, Money Management Services. We'll hear from them later in the show. So let's go. Let's flip preseason predictions on their ear. Let's not find every possible reason why Auburn will not end its streak of 7 loss seasons. Let's not look for every flaw, every wart, every hole that might keep Auburn in the deep hole that it's lived in for the last 5 years. This is the season of possibility, the month of hopes and dreams before anyone has lost a game. And Auburn has done this before. It's not as if this program has no history, like Indiana, of shocking the world. Think 2013 with Gus Malzahn. Think 2010 under Gene Chizik. Think 1993 when Terry Bowden showed up on the scene. That is an amazing run by one program of when you least expect it, you should expect it. In fact, the history of Auburn, the modern history of Auburn football, is new coaches making a splash early. Early excitement, early electricity, early magic. Started with Pat Dye. In his second year, what did he do? Snapped a 9-game losing streak in the Iron Bowl. Then came Terry Bowden. His first year, 11-0. He beat the two teams in Florida and Alabama that would play in the SEC championship game. Of course, Auburn couldn't go because they were on probation, which Bowden inherited from the previous regime. Then after Bowden, you had Tommy Tuberville. In his second year, Auburn went to the SEC championship game. Didn't win, but you saw definite progress. Then it got really crazy. After Tuberville, in Gene Chizik's second year, he made progress in year one. And in his second year, went undefeated, had the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback in Cam Newton, and they won the national title. And in the most improbable, incredible, incredulous season we've probably ever witnessed. It didn't end with a national championship. It ended one play short of a national title. But 2013 Auburn, coming off of a 3-9 season in which the Tigers did not win an SEC game. They were 0-8 in 2012. Chizik got fired. They brought back Malzahn. And all he did was go 11-1 in the regular season, win the SEC West, win the SEC championship game, go to the last BCS championship game, jump out to an early lead, lose the lead in the fourth quarter, regain the lead late in the fourth quarter, and then find themselves unable to hold it at the end. That's the season that every struggling program should watch for inspiration. And maybe we didn't know it at the time. We certainly didn't know it in August of 2013 that Auburn was going to stage that magical year, which of course included the prayer and Jordan Hare and the kick six. But there were some reasons to believe, there were some bright spots on that roster, some that hadn't really shown themselves, some like Trey Mason that had success at Auburn in the SEC, and then Gus Malzahn brought it all together, and they had a great run. Why is that possible for this Auburn team? Why could 2026 be a mirror of 2013? Well, first of all, let's look at the coaching staff. Let's look at what this coaching staff has accomplished, led by Alex Golesh, with his offensive coordinator, Joel Gordon, who came with him, among other assistants that came from South Florida. Look at what they did just last year. Because what has been the problem with Auburn football in the last 5 years? It's been offense. It's been the inability to score points. It's been the inability to win close games because they couldn't score enough points. This is an amazing stat when you look back to last year. And this is why Hugh Freeze is no longer the coach and Alex Golesh is. Auburn played 6 games last year decided by 7 points or less. In those 6 games, Auburn went 0-6. Contrast that with 2013 Auburn, Gus Malzahn's first year. They played 7 games that year decided by 8 points or less, all one-score games, and they went 6-1 in those tight games, those games where one play could make the difference. One tipped pass could make the difference. One field goal that came up short, and I guess he can run it back, can make the difference. That's what should give you optimism if you're an Auburn fan that this year could be different because the defensive coordinator is back. Auburn has a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. Xavier Atkins, every time you turn around, he's being named to a preseason All-American team. He's just the tip of the spear, though. There are a lot of talented players on that side of the ball. So you expect that it is going to be a challenge to put up big numbers against that Auburn defense. So the Auburn offense doesn't have to be spectacular. It doesn't have to be 2013 great. And think about that. This is another one of my favorite stats that doesn't get talked about enough in the history of the SEC or the history of Auburn, or both, that 2013 Auburn, they averaged 328 rushing yards a game, led the nation in rushing. They were the first team ever from the Southeastern Conference to lead the nation in rushing. That's what Gus Malzahn's best teams did best. They ran the dang ball, and they ran it at a very, very high rate. Alex Golesh's teams are more balanced. You don't have to look back far. Just look at last year. Look at the national stats. Let's just look at the rushing stats. We'll start there. Indiana won the national championship. Indiana finished 12th in the nation in rushing. The Hoosiers ran for, just a tick under 213 yards a game. So they were 12th in the nation in rushing. You know who was 13th? South Florida, coached by Alex Golesh. They ran for less than a yard fewer. Is that even proper grammar? They ran for 212.1. Indiana ran for 212.9 per game. So you get consistent production out of the run game. It gives you a better chance to win. It gives you a chance in close games. It gives you a chance to hold on to a lead. That's something else about last year's Auburn team. They had, I got to go to my trusty legal pad for this one. I wrote it down. They lost 7 games in the SEC, went 1-7. They led 3 of those games that they lost in the fourth quarter. They led Oklahoma in the fourth quarter. They had the lead against Missouri and Vanderbilt in the fourth quarter. Couldn't hold any of them. And, of course, they lost to Missouri and Vanderbilt in overtime. But in the other 4 SEC losses, they had the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to tie or take the lead. So if you put yourself in that kind of position because your defense is really strong, a goalless offense should be able to get it done on occasion, if not every time. Because not only did USF run the ball, and what is it Alex Golesh said already in preseason camp when he was talking about that aspect of his offense? He said, we're going to run the piss out of the ball. You're in good hands when you've got a head coach who has that kind of attitude. Sorry, I'll show myself out. But not only can they run the ball, Alex Golesh's best teams run the ball well, but they also throw it. They're balanced. You can't load up to stop one aspect of his offense or the other. Last year, the Bulls finished 18th in the country in passing offense. They threw for 276.6 yards a game. And you add the rushing and the passing totals, and their total offense, 488.7 yards a game. That was third in the country among all 136 football bowl subdivision schools. The man knows offense. And the man has a quarterback who can throw it, he can run it, he can execute the designed play, he can improvise and make something out of nothing. Byron Brown is a difference maker. Ask Florida about that. So again, if you get some offense, if you get some big plays, you can make big things happen when no one's expecting it. Go back to that 2013 Auburn team. Yeah, Trey Mason had already had a 1,000-yard rushing season just over. Did anyone expect him to break Bo Jackson's school record and run for over 1,800 yards in 2013? No, but he did. Did anyone see Nick Marshall coming at quarterback? Converted defensive back from Georgia who went to JUCO, then came to Auburn, was in his first year as a starter. He ran for 1,000 yards, threw for just under 2,000 yards. And his mastery at the mesh point on the read option was a thing of beauty. You didn't know if he was going to pull it. You didn't know if he was going to run it. You didn't know if he was going to start out looking like he was going to run it and then flip it to a wide open Sammy Coates for the tying touchdown in the Iron Bowl to set up the kick six. Nick Marshall was a magician. Maybe one of the most underrated great players in recent SEC history. Byron Brown has Nick Marshall type talent. He's been a better thrower than Nick Marshall was that first year as the Auburn starter. Nick got much better the next year and really was able to fling it around in 2014. What did he throw for 456 against Alabama in the 2014 Iron Bowl? Something like that. Byron Brown is more proven than Nick Marshall was when he got to Auburn in 2013. Byron Brown has 2 3,000-yard passing seasons in the last 3 years. He ran for 1,000 yards last year. Was one of the top, led the country in total offense per game, just ahead of Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. Remember how much trouble Diego Pavia gave the Auburn defense last year, the year before at Vanderbilt, before that at New Mexico State? Imagine having a weapon like that on your side. And again, we're talking about best case scenario. We're not making a prediction. I'm not sitting here telling you during the second week of August that 2026 Auburn is going to duplicate or replicate or even approach what 2013 Auburn did. But if everything goes right, everything won't. Nothing ever does, not in college football. But if more things go right than you expect, if more things go right than have gone right for that program over the last 5 years, who's to say Auburn can't shock the world? Now, the schedule would argue against it. October is brutal. At Tennessee, at Georgia, home against LSU, and at Ole Miss. That seems a bridge too far for even a team that's been coming off a playoff run, let alone a team that's had 5 straight 7-loss seasons. But LSU's quarterback isn't proven. Ole Miss's head coach is not proven. Josh Heupel's on a little bit of a hot seat at Tennessee. And Golesh will be especially motivated for that meeting with his mentor, his former boss, when Heupel hired Golesh as his offensive coordinator and they put up big numbers for a couple of years. Georgia is Georgia. Georgia in Athens is Georgia squared. But you should be optimistic. You've got a new coach with a new attitude, a new approach. Camp Golesh has been all the rage. And how about the latest revelation out of Camp Golesh that one of the pieces of discipline they employ during practice, if a player makes a mistake, is they do push-ups. And Golesh has been dropping down and giving himself 20 on those occasions. And I love the explanation that everybody has to take accountability when things go wrong. If a wide receiver drops the ball, yeah, it's on him. He dropped the ball. But maybe the quarterback didn't put the ball in the right spot. Maybe the coach didn't coach up the wide receiver well enough. Maybe the position coach didn't do his job. Maybe the head coach called the wrong play. So they are in it together. They are taking accountability when things go wrong. And if that holds, if Golesh sticks to that this season and throughout his tenure on the Plains, they will be far down the path from where they were with Hugh Freeze, who loved to assign blame and shirk responsibility when things went wrong. So think about that. When your head hits the pillow tonight, what if things go right? What if all of these close games that last year's Auburn team played, what if they find themselves in those situations again? What if they have game after game where they have the lead in the fourth quarter, or they have the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to tie or take the lead? Do you really think that that head coach and that offensive coordinator and that quarterback, with his center along for the ride one more time, Cole Best, to transfer from South Florida as well, do you really think those guys won't find a way here or there at least to make a play, to score late, to win a game, to complete a drive like in the Iron Bowl where last year's Auburn team was driving late in the fourth quarter to tie the game and they fumbled that opportunity away? Maybe it won't happen. Maybe Auburn goes 6-6. Maybe there is improvement, but it is incremental, and they have a winning season, and it's 7-5. That'll be progress. But what if a lot of things go right? What if they get some breaks? What if some of the teams on the schedule who look, extremely formidable right now turn out not to be? That's why I wouldn't dismiss Auburn. I wouldn't put a ceiling on Auburn. This is what we do in the preseason. And look, I've been cynical and skeptical of coaches and teams and players in the past for a long time. But this is not the time for that. This is the time to look on the bright side. This is the time to believe the sky might be the limit. To not put a ceiling on Byron Brown. Don't put a ceiling on Byron Brown. Don't put a ceiling on Jeremiah Cobb. Don't put a ceiling on Deshaun Spencer, the freshman slot receiver from Saraland. They just crank out great receivers from that high school. Jeff Kelly and company do a great job there. Don't put a ceiling on them. Other teams will try to do that. And Auburn may bump its head against the ceiling, and the ceiling may not be vaulted. It may not be 20 feet high. It may be a lot lower than we think it could be. But now's the time to dream. And if any program should dare to dream about what might be when no one else thinks it could be, it's Auburn football. All right, that's going to do it for me for today. I'm Kevin Skarbinski, a.k.a. Scarbo. Appreciate you watching. Again, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We do appreciate it. And make sure you check out our sponsor, Money Management Services. Whatever your financial services needs, the Rice family can point you in the right direction. They're good friends of mine. They will take great care of you. Let's hear what they have to say next. I'm out. See ya.
Since 1992, Money Management Services in Birmingham has provided individuals and business owners with trusted, fee-only financial advice. We're more than advisors, we're your financial family. From retirement planning to tax strategies and estate planning, our team builds personalized wealth management plans tailored to your life. At Money Management Services, we treat you like family, because when you walk through our doors, you become part of ours.